We have the casserole dish just waiting for its handles. It's trimmed and it's leather hard. I am kind of hiding amongst the tripod, not the trees, because without the tripod we wouldn't have this shot. Without that camera we wouldn't have this shot. So we're going to just have all the angles and I'll be shot. And now that we're shot, let's get to talking about handles. I like to use the handles I mentioned before by my fine farmer friend, and I extrude these. I keep a few of them in stock, well, they're just extruded in plastic in stock, and then when I want a handle I can just go ahead and use what I have. Each handle is about 4 inches long. I'm going to cut off 2 pieces of clay that are about 4 inches long. Wrap these guys back up in plastic, and they'll be ready for another day. I make quite a few casserole dishes. I use these on the batter bowls, and I just like to have them around. I have my 2 pieces of clay, my 2 handles, and I want to start to put them on. Now the first handle is always really easy to put on because it goes just right there. And I'm just going to score it, and it's going to receive the handle. And this handle's nice. I just like to give it a bend. And I'm going to score inside here. I always score the clay, water bottle. I always score the clay if I am adding clay that doesn't have the same moisture content. This is leather hard. These handles are still quite wet. I'm going to score them, add a bit of water. I prefer the squirt bottle. And then kind of work it in. I don't use slip, but I use wet clay, which is slip. And put that on in this way. And I'm going to wiggle it on, support on the inside. Now I don't like this straight part here. I'm going to cut it off gently at an angle this way and kind of the same that way and get rid of it. I want to blend it in, make it one with the clay. And to do that I'm going to use my fingertip. When I throw mugs, I wear my nails off. And this is my favorite sculpting tool when it comes to handles. So I have this little fat thing right here on my finger, which I'm going to apply a little bit of water to my handle. And I'm just going to put that little fat fingertip in there and blend them. I'm just going to go in there. And I'm just going to blend it. Now it's messy. I like my clay to be tidy. So I'm just going to tidy, and as I do that I'm kind of sticking through the sponge my fingertips into each one of those and smearing it kind of tidy. I want to make sure that my sculpting lines, I want to make sure that my scoring lines are erased. My little stick goes in there, and I'm going to sponge it tidy. One trick I kind of like to do is I like to just compact that a little bit that way. It moves it up and squeezes it together. It eliminates some cracking. You don't want your clay to be far apart. You always want your particles to be close together. And it just makes sure it's connected here and here. Now that was the easy one because that one just went on. Now the next handle you put on, you want to make sure it's directly across. You don't want it to be off to one side or off to the other. Your casserole dish with your handles this way is kind of odd. So I'm going to measure it. And I always do that with a ruler. Put the ruler right on top of the handle opposite to you. And now you can look down at these 2 half circles it makes to see where center is. You can eyeball it if you like. Or if you're not sure, I just put this on and I just kind of do a quick measure. I make sure I use the same number. On this ruler I'm going to use 18 or 7 inches. Now this comes all right to the end of the texture on the needle. I'm going to turn it over, and it's not the same. So this one's bigger, something's supposed to be smaller, so I'm going to move it that way, and that should be about almost to the texture, and almost to the texture. That's close enough. Now I can see through the ruler. I'm going to make a mark under there, and now I have a mark that is center. It's directly across from that one. Now I can put my handle on. I'm going to score it, add a little bit of water, squish that water around. Again, more technical pottery talk. I don't use slip, I use wet clay. Score my little handle. And put it on there and give it a wiggle. You want to make sure when you're putting your handle on that one, it's straight across this way, but also it's level this way. So you don't want your handles being one higher and one lower. I'm just going to make sure I've made this finger mark throwing. I like to make those because it's a great indicator of where my handle's going to go. Put it on there, wiggle it around. I like to cut those angles, and they're pretty close. I don't measure those, or just eyeball them. Add your moisture, squish it with your finger. If you don't have the nice fat round fingers like I do, you can, there's ends of a stick you could use, a pencil eraser, or whatever you like. We're going to make it tidy. I'm going to stick my fingers in kind of those little marks. Make it one with the pot. I like it to sort of blend in and be one with the pot. And tidy up these messy lines with your stick. Oh, well, that one's really messy. And wiggle it on there. Compact it just a little bit. Moisten too tidy. Now you've got a nice, I like the ribbon handles. They're big enough to hang on to, but they're not great big handles out of the way. They don't, if you put this in the dishwasher, it's not sticking out. It doesn't stick out when it goes in and out of the oven. They're very comfortable. I can't pick it up right now. They're very comfortable. I can't pick it up to show you, but they're a great handle, and I prefer this handle because I prefer this handle. Anyway, you can choose the handle you like, and we'll put a lid on this guy in a minute.